And joining us now, live from that country, is Tulin Daloglu, who is a columnist at Al Monitor's Turkey Pulse, and also ran for the Turkish Parliament, I believe, back in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. Hello, Tulin. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And you're not mistaken. I ran for Parliament in the November 2002 elections.
Well, I appreciate that. All right, so what exactly is going on? It seems to me, from what I've gained, from what I've been able to gather here, all this distance away, this is shaping up as kind of a conflict that the president of your country is kind of praising the nature of it, and or at least the ideas behind it, and of course your prime minister is taking a very hardline stance against it, and that the demonstrations seem to be aimed at him, who's trying to impose, more of an Islamic way of life on people who are more secularized. So why don't you tell me if I'm right or wrong and what the heck is going on?
Well, you're pretty much right. People are showing reaction to the style of governance. The Prime Minister, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, is a very tough guy, and he has a certain style of his personality. He talks, quite authoritatively. He only has his way or no way, and his rhetoric has not been inclusive from the very beginning. And now, as he marks a decade in office, things are just, piling up, and there is an amassed anger in the population. What's taking place actually has started last Monday on May 27. People, about 500, gathered in Istanbul at a park because the prime minister was determined that he's going to cut down these, 10 or, 12 trees and instead, replace it with an Ottoman artillery barracks, which was built in 1780 and demolished in 1940. And the people are just, showing reaction not only to it, but the prime minister, who was also a former mayor of Istanbul, turning their city into his own playground and not, making them included or not, asking for their opinion as to whether they feel comfortable with these changes, because these are really big changes. And it's not only about this park, but there had been, like in the past few months, a theater that's really, one of the symbols of the city has, gone through a huge change. They, demolished it. A patisserie, that's another, significant marking point of Istanbul, has been shut down. Third bridge that is going to tie the European and the Asian side, Anatolian side, is going to cause a lot of trees to be cut again. And there's a bunch of things, which also includes the prime minister's insistence of reminding people of Turkey's Ottoman inheritance. And the majority of the population here is Muslim, but for prime minister, although majority is Muslim, he doesn't count all of them Muslim, but he has to remind them that, there is a certain segment of the population that's more Muslim than the others. And this kind of a rhetoric, which really pushes them to the edge. And also, the prime minister suggested that he's not only going to build this Ottoman artillery barracks in Taksim, but he will also build a mosque there. So he's really pushing on some agenda where people, I guess, said enough. And they're not pouring on the streets. This is really very unprecedented in this republic's history, that people from all other the cities around the country are coming on the streets in support of what's happening in Istanbul, and the police brutality is huge. And
well, I want to ask you. I wanted to ask you, Tulin, what's the situation now? I know a little while ago in Istanbul, in the square, I know that there was, and over the course of the day, there had been lots and lots of tear gas, to the point where one of the reporters on one of the cable stations said that even indoors in their offices, he had to wear the gas mask. So it does sound. I mean, it's about 11 o'clock at night there, local time. So things have quieted down now. But what do you expect for tomorrow and going forward?
things are not quieting down at this time. No, it's just, hyping up. It's on the contrary.
Okay.
I'm not in Istanbul, so I'm also watching the developments in Istanbul on television. But I'm in Ankara, and I know what I had witnessed today, downtown Ankara. There were about 500 high school students at Güven Park. It's downtown Ankara, and police use excessive amount of tear or pepper gas, whatever gas they are, spraying on people. It was just too much. And then the university students, wanted to join. It was just brutal. I mean, the scenery is just suggesting that there is no mercy left on the side of the police. And I guess now, as the protest continues, yes, there is a reaction to the prime minister, but now the growing reaction is to his rhetoric, to his language, and also him continuing to go with this policy or with whatever that is for ordering his police officers to continue using this amount of gas and water cannon on people and not calming down the streets. I think, people are showing more reaction to it now.
All right. Tulin, I'm sorry, we've only got a couple of minutes left. I want to ask you, we hear the terminology Arab Spring, and I've heard the terminology today saying that this could be referred to as the Turkish Spring. But we saw how the Arab Spring turned out in Egypt, and that was the Muslim Brotherhood and more Islamization, if you will, of the country. What would you call what's going on now in Turkey? And in the minute and a half we have left, how do you think that this is going to end?
I don't know how this is going to end. I can only tell you what's happening today, and what's happening today is that the prime minister is not really getting what the message from the streets coming. He's blaming the opposition. He's blaming, unpredictably, the foreign agents to intervene on the Turkish streets and, provoking the Turkish people against his government, which is really very difficult to comprehend. But what I can tell you is that this is really very different than the Arab Spring, because we have a multi-party system and a more established democracy in this country. This is a little bit, above in terms of the political life, it's above than the Arab political life. So it's just it cannot be comparable, and I don't think that we should really push to compare everything.
Right.
But
no, I was going to say, well, Tulin, a pleasure talking to you. I hope you'll let us call on you again as this progresses, if it keeps up, and I'd love to get your insight as we continue going along.
I'll be very happy, and thank you so much for keeping an eye on the developments in Turkey. Most of the media is not covering it, and that's also making most of the people on the streets very disappointed in the media.
Okay, thank you very much. That's Tulin Daloglu, columnist at Al Monitor's Turkey.